Hello, hello. I'm just working on lining the sidewalk area. We're definitely getting closer to being done. I think I'm going to leave the smaller part. Maybe not as dark. That definitely looks a lot more better than it did before. It was way too light, but you could definitely see the stones a little better. I'm gonna work on this area over here. There's some blotchiness. And let me merge this layer down. Or actually, I'll just keep it like that. I probably won't be on live today for so long, considering I'm almost done with this piece. But I do have a lot of work left to do. Right now I'm just going back on certain areas and spots I want to clean up, especially areas that doesn't really look right to me. I do want to add maybe some butterflies and bees. I don't usually add insects to my drawings, but I want to do something a little different this time. That area definitely looks so much better. I'm going to line some of the details on Alice, just so it's not so light. And I see a little mark here that's not supposed to be here, so I'm going to fix that real quick. Let's see. There we go. All right. I'm also open to art-related questions. Welcome, welcome. Happy Father's Day to you too. I was debating whether to do a live stream or not today, considering it is Father's Day, but a lot of people still do scroll on YouTube and watch lives. I also didn't really want to take much of a break with this, considering we're almost done with it. We're getting really close to hitting 1K. We're at 980 something right now. So if there's anyone new to the live stream, if you're interested in art and stuff like this, illustrations, I like to connect with my subscribers and use any open ideas. So if you're new, please subscribe and like the live stream. Not exactly sure if that looks a little bit too dark. Maybe just a tad bit. How is everybody doing today? I'm just fixing up her hair a little bit. Yet again, some of the lines are a little bit too light. I think that looks a lot better. Alright, so I guess I can maybe line this again. Alright, so I'm going to, I don't know, what should I do next? I'm going to work on this area. I'm going to grab a different brush. We'll do maybe a watercolor brush for this. Only because his little O-rings aren't as dark anymore, or visible. So I'm going to fix that up a little bit. It's probably good. Alright, so we're going to fix that up. Nothing too fancy. Let's see if there's some... I think this is the brush I used for that. Can make that maybe just a tad bit lighter. That looks a lot better. Alright, so I'm going to add maybe some butterflies or bees. I'm going to see if I can add a few bees. Let me grab my graphite pencil. And I'm just going to add a few bees here and there. I'll probably put one right here as well. I'm just making the body shape for now. And then we could probably put maybe a bee over here. Alright, so I'm going to add its wings. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit more fuzzy if I can. But we'll see what it looks like with wings first. Oh, I hate when that happens. Might be a little bit too dark though. Not quite. I'm gonna get it in the right spot. I just need to keep messing around with the shapes a little bit. Who else hates bees? Because I don't like them, me personally. I never drawn a bee in my life, but I'm trying. I don't know. I was debating on whether to add the stingers. Me too. Yeah, I don't like bees for some reason. I hate them. I don't know if it's because I'm like scared of them or they creep me out, but I definitely don't like bees. There's a lot of insects I don't like. I like that honey though. True that. That's the only thing I'll thank the bees for is the honey. Hello, hello. Welcome. Feel free to ask me any art-related questions if you have any. You draw beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Right now I'm just lining the bees a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of shading, which if you're new here, I use a muted down purple or a blue for shading. How long did you take to draw this? This specifically, I did procrastinate a little bit, but this has taken me maybe a few weeks so far, I would say. It definitely took a little bit to do so, considering I was procrastinating. But sometimes pieces like this, it takes a while. Even if it looks like there's not much work on it, it all matters on the details. Alright, so I'm going to add wings. Hello, hello. Welcome. If you have any art-related questions, I'm open to answering those. We could probably make those wings maybe a tad bit lighter. How long have you been drawing? I have been drawing pretty much my entire life. I started this channel up when I was 12, and I've been drawing ever since. I started digital art in 2023, so not too long ago. I definitely was really bad at art at first, or with digital art in 2023. I have a couple of those videos up on my page if you want to go check those out, guys. Yeah, I've been drawing pretty much my entire life, though. I never really thought I was gonna do digital art, but yeah, I tend to like this a lot more than traditional art. It feels nice. It's definitely easier for me, I would say. Yeah, I do have a lot of videos up on my page, but I've been drawing for a really long time. Welcome back. I think those look pretty cute. They kind of remind me of the Adopt Me bees, just because it's more simple, which is fine. I mean, this is my first time drawing bees, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a darker color here. I'm just overlaying the bees a little bit. I need to go, bye. Alright, bye-bye. See you next time. I'm just gonna add a little bit of a highlight in front of the bee. I only added 3 of them. I didn't want to add too many because I might add butterflies as well. But we'll see. I think those look alright. I could probably do better with those, but they aren't that bad for the first time drawing bees. It's simple. I could probably make them a little bit smaller though. Let's see. Let's see how that looks. You know, I think it looks good like that, actually. I feel like if it's too small, you can't really see the details as well. Although it is kind of simple. Let's see. Alright, so fix these stripes a little bit here. And the little beady eyes. I think this bee, I don't know. I think I'm going to erase these 2 bees and move the other one over here. Only because I like how this one turned out a lot more. So I'm just gonna copy and paste that and bring 2 of these over here. So we'll have one there. And then, or we could have this and switch that around. Yes, that looks adorable. What do you guys think? Does that look cute or not? Because I like it. It does remind me of the Dot Me bees though. Alright, so let's see if I can add some butterflies or maybe some dragonflies by the water. I think dragonflies would be cute just to put by the water. And maybe I can put some butterflies up in this area over here. So I'm doing this all without a reference, by the way, so that's why I have to keep going back and relining things to make sure everything looks good, because I'm doing this by memory and what I'm imagining it to look like as well. So dragonflies, they're usually like a bluish, greenish color. There's different colored dragonflies as well. But I'm gonna make mine, say like maybe a bluish color. We'll try that first and see how that looks. There's a hair on my screen. Alright, so we're gonna try this first. So dragonflies usually have a pretty weird stacked body, even though they're really pretty. I'm gonna make this a little bit more narrow. Alright, so we're gonna try this and see how this looks. I gotta find that color again because I just messed it up a little bit there. Alright, so we're gonna try that color. Just little antennas. Make this a little bit more pointier. And dragonflies, I believe they have smaller wings than butterflies do. They're more towards their upper body than they are towards the entire body, like butterflies do. So I'm just gonna do something like that. Kind of like little heart shapes. I could probably make that just a tad bit bigger and extend it out. But this is looking pretty good so far. I'll make another line here just to add something a little bit extra to the wings. Alright, so we're gonna do something like this with the wings. We could probably go maybe a tad bit lighter on this. And I'm just gonna line this one more time just so you can see the wings a little bit more again. Might be a little bit too much. Alright, so I'm gonna maybe make this bottom part of the body a little bit smaller. Just a little bit. And I think I'm gonna get rid of this, because it definitely was giving butterfly. So we'll probably stick with that. I'm going to add a little bit of highlights and stuff, just so it's not too flat. Alright, we'll see how that looks when it's a little bit smaller. Probably make that a little bit smaller. I'm going to have to overline the details again, considering I did just shrink it, but sometimes it doesn't do that, depending on how small you make it. But if you're shrinking stuff with the lasso, you're gonna want to definitely overline it again. And that goes for any art app. Alright, so I think I'm going to add a few more dragonflies here. Yet again, don't want to add too many so it looks too cluttered. Maybe I'll add one right here, but I'm going to flip this so it doesn't look too symmetrical as the other one. Or maybe we could do something like this. I don't know, maybe we'll keep one there. But I do want to add a little bit of a green color with it so it's not so blue. I'll add maybe a little bit of this to the wings. And then I'm going to add another highlight again. There we go. Alright, so we're going to keep that, and we're going to see if we can add a few butterflies. I'm going to fix up this bee just a tad bit. I feel like it was blending in with the bush a little bit. So I'm just using a little bit of a white to line that. Same goes for this one. I'm going to line this a little bit with white. Alright, that looks a lot better. Alright, so I'm going to try to attempt to draw butterflies. I don't know how that's going to work out for me though, because I don't draw insects like that. We'll try to do maybe like an orange butterfly. Something like that. That's more like a brown though. I'll do an orange. Dark orange. We'll try that. So I'm going to try to put some butterflies up here. I usually like to draw the wings and stuff first. I don't know how this is going to work out for me. And if not, that's fine. Alright, we'll try that, but I'm going to draw the body. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I think I drew the wings right. It's just, I don't know. I do want to add more stuff to this. Especially up in this area. I feel like there's not enough towards the top area. What do you guys think? Do you guys have any ideas of what I should add in the background area? I was thinking maybe to add some bushes possibly, but that could also make it look too corroded and just clumped together. I could also add maybe a bush back behind this tree. I do have some of my older drawings here for references. So I could use any of these maybe. There's nothing much going on with these ones, so these are older. Yet again, my older drawings didn't have too much going on with it as well. Unlike this one, I'm definitely progressing in my backgrounds. Just making sure there's nothing on this layer. I am merging down a few layers just so there's not too many of them, but I don't want to merge down all of them. Maybe I could add a few flies as well. Looks more like a fish. We'll do that for the body. That was definitely a little bit lighter than that. So we'll just do a few flies over here. And then I'll use a lighter blue for the wings. Could probably do a little bit lighter on that. It's gotta be a little bit back. A little bit smaller on the wings. Okay, so we'll do something like that. Yet again, what matters to me the most is that it looks good from afar away. Because it is an illustration and there's a lot of smaller details. I just want to make sure that it looks decent, at least. I could probably go a tad bit lighter because you can't really see it, or the wings, from afar away. I don't want it to necessarily be too light or too dark. Maybe darker would look better. We'll see how that looks. Definitely way too dark. Sometimes you have to play around with the colors because you're not always going to get it right the first time. And that's what I do sometimes. Sometimes I have to play around with the colors, which is okay, because yet again, not gonna look right the first time. Yeah, I would say it definitely looks better lined like that. I am hoping to finish this drawing in the next few days, and it probably will be done maybe tomorrow actually. But you never know. Sometimes you want to add more, sometimes you want to add less. And then sometimes, even when you're at the final product or the final stage of things like this, for example, you want to add more, or you just, you know, you could be finished with the project and still feel like you need to add more to it. So it does take a lot of time. I feel like the flies kind of look good in that spot. I do still want to add more to the background. I just don't have really much of an idea right now of what I want to add. I am going to keep looking at some of my older drawings for ideas, because these do help sometimes, whether you're on Pinterest looking for references or ideas. Old drawings also help too, which I use a lot of my old drawings for references and ideas all the time actually, which also helps you practice and learn how to get better in art. I did have a concept of having spilled tea float around her, so maybe I will try to see how that looks now. Before, it didn't really look right before. It just didn't look normal to me. I mean, obviously it's not normal, but we'll see what that concept looks like. I want to merge this layer down. Okay. Now I'm going to merge it down. Alright, so let's try. So we'll try something like that, but I'm going to make it a little bit more thinner. Or it would probably look better curved like I used to have it before I deleted that concept, obviously. But yeah, so we'll try something like that. Hello, hello. Alright, so we're gonna try something like this and just see how that looks. I'm gonna try to make this a little bit lighter. This is really cool. Thank you. Alright, so I'm going to overline this a little bit. We'll do a darker color here. Maybe not that dark. We'll do like this color. Yeah, I think the spilling out floating tea concept kind of makes it look better, and especially, in this area, it definitely fills in the space. Accidentally made that a little bit too dark. I might blend some of this out so it doesn't look so blotchy like it does. And it definitely looks a lot more blotchy on camera. But I don't want it to look exactly like this. So I'm gonna try to blend it out a little bit. It could also look a little bit better after I add the highlights. So I'm going to try to add some highlights here. What do you guys think? Should I keep the T? Or at least this area? I feel like it would be fine, but I do think that this isn't really matching up with the color. So I'm just gonna darken this a little bit. Yeah, that definitely looks a little better. I could probably make that a tad bit lighter. Probably keep that. I do think we could maybe make some of this a little thinner in areas. Like this might be a little bit too thick. So let's see. Alright, let's see how this one looks a little bit thinner. It looks a little better. I could probably make this a little transparent if I wanted to. It's probably a little bit too transparent, but sometimes you gotta play around with the certain filters and stuff if it's not really exactly how you want it to be. And if not, I'm just gonna use maybe this a little bit. I don't know. I want to use this, but it's like maybe I could erase this area instead and just keep that. Because that could be a fun concept as well. It doesn't necessarily have to wrap around her, but I could also put some of these splash thingies right here. Like, that could be cute. It's a little bit too dark. I'm gonna try to find that color that we had. I think that's close enough to it. Alright, so we're gonna add some highlights. A little bit too big. That definitely looks a lot better, I would say. I could probably darken this up a little bit. Yeah, that definitely looks a lot better. And I think it's kind of cool with the flies there hanging around the T. Kind of like if they want it. Might be a little bit too dark there. Do a little bit of a lighter color. That definitely looks a lot better. I kind of like it more than the way it was wrapping around her head. Although it would have been a cool concept. I feel like this one works a lot more. I could probably add maybe a little bit more highlights in this bottom area. I just feel like it's a little bit too flat. So I'm gonna add that. Probably get rid of this squiggle right here. Or maybe see if this, yeah, it's better. Yeah, I think it looks a lot better like that. I still do want to add maybe some more bushes or something in the background. I'm not exactly sure what to add. Maybe I could add some more mushrooms. We could try adding some more mushrooms. So let's try. So we'll do a little bit in that area. Some down here, maybe. Alright, so I'm going to try to make some of these mushrooms again. Or I could also, this would probably be so much better is if I copy and paste it exactly. But I will have to find that layer, because I have no idea what layer it's on. I think it's on this one. Yeah. So this one, little bits. All right. And then we'll go to our new layer and place some of these mushrooms down. So I'm gonna put one maybe here. And then place one here. I think this one would have to be a little bit more smaller. I'm gonna make this one smaller. Alright, so I'm gonna add maybe 2 more mushrooms. I'm gonna put some on the other side over here. I think it looks cool like that. And then maybe we could add another mushroom. I'm not gonna say over there. We'll probably add one up here. Yeah, that definitely looks cool. Kind of reminds me if you made hills and put trees in the background in a way. Except instead of trees, it's mushrooms. Alright, so we're gonna see how that looks. I'm gonna add some of that line work back in there. See if we can find that. It's gonna be on this layer here. Alright, and then we're gonna go back to our 16th layer and just start placing these line works down here. Just like that. And I'm gonna add the other ones. Try to line it up as much as I can. I don't know if I'm gonna keep all these mushrooms or just keep some of them. We'll see. I think I'm going to erase this mushroom here. Let's see. I gotta find a layer. So this one right here, I'm gonna erase this one right here. There we go. Okay. Let's work on these ones. Or now that I'm on or closer to this layer, I can erase some of this excess stuff. Just like that. And then I'm going to work on this one, on this side. Just got a few more over here. And then I can fill in those little circle parts. Alright, one more. All the way down here. Alright. It's a little fuzzy thing on my screen. Alright, so I'm going to, let's see here. I'm going to make this maybe a tad bit lighter if I can to try to match up with the other mushrooms, but I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be able to do that. If not, it's fine. Probably not, but I'm going to add some of that white in there. A little bit too big. There we go. Happy Father's Day. Make sure you do something nice for your fathers. Yeah. Happy Father's Day. Alright, so I am gonna try to make this a little bit lighter. I do feel it's just a little bit too dark. We're gonna see though. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it lighter. I guess I probably can a little bit. Yeah, it looks close enough to the original color there. I'm gonna try to do those with the other ones. Especially these ones over here. These ones are really dark. Alright. I'm also going to try to match up the stem color as well. This turned out a little bit too dark. That one's probably fine up there. Alright. I'm still gonna try to fix up these mushrooms just a tad bit, but they're definitely way better than they were a minute ago. Could be a little bit too dark there. Alright. And to make it look more like it's supposed to be in that spot, I'm gonna add a little bit of grass around it. So I'm just gonna take a green here. We could probably work with something like this. Yeah, so we'll do a green like this, and we're going to just add a little bit of grass. That might be a little bit too bright though. I'm gonna try to mute down this color. Do something like this. Yet again, a little bit too bright for my liking. I'm gonna try to color match. We'll do something like this, where we can try a brown color. Like this is probably fine. And then I'm going to just add a little bit of grass up here, nothing much. Same with this, just a little bit. And try to color match this again. I lost the color. And it's okay if it doesn't look good, like zoomed in. All that matters to me is that it looks good from afar away. I still do think that these mushrooms are a little bit darker than they should be, which makes me kind of want to make these a little bit darker if I can. Let's see. That might be too brown though. Yeah, this color definitely looks a lot better. I'm gonna see if I can keep this as the color. I'm gonna have to fix up the lines again and reshade it. But this color definitely looks better. I'm gonna fix up this one as well. Alright, so I'm gonna add those lines back in. They did disappear a little bit, but I'm just gonna fix this up. I'm also gonna fix this side up as well. I'm gonna try to add in those lines again, this side as well. And then I'm going to add in that shading again. We'll do like a bluish color. I don't know if I did a purple or a blue the last time, but both look fine to me. And then I'm going to blend this one out just a tad bit there. Alright. I would say it definitely looks better than what it did originally. The other one looks a little bit more shaded out than this one does, so I'm going to try to match that somewhat. It's going to take a second to do so. Considering it's smaller, it's going to keep shading out too light. Well, maybe not. That looks pretty close to the other one. I'm going to add some of that shading to these ones as well, but I don't think I'd have to blend too much. Yeah, see, like, that looks fine. Add some of that shading over here. And then we're done with the mushrooms. I don't think I'm going to add anything else really to this, but it's not done. What I like to do when I am close to the end of drawing is I like to add certain filters to it just to see how it looks. And you can usually find these up here if you're using IBS Paint. I usually use stuff like this. Sometimes I use a light filter. So something like this that kind of just reflects off. I'd probably use this one just so you can see that it's reflecting through the trees. And then what I like to do after that is just mess around with these little filter things, try to blend it in, just to see what looks best. Like, that looks good, but I'm going to turn this a little bit. Just a tad bit. That looks a lot better. Probably move this over just a tad bit like that. Alright, so there is, you can see there's light I added there. I'm going to move this just a tad bit. Alright, so I don't just add stuff like that to my drawings. I like to add something else that kind of makes the piece pop a little bit more. So sometimes I'll add colorful things. And yet again, sometimes you just gotta play around with it a little bit to see what you like. Like even adding, like I know sometimes this wouldn't make sense necessarily, but adding stuff like this sometimes makes it look good, like the underwater stuff, even though she's not really underwater, but um, stuff like this too, like the natural lighting or flare, which I actually might add here. And it's not gonna make sense at first, but with this, it might look good, it might not look good. Sometimes you gotta see. So this I can add in here if I wanted to. Like that's a little bit too dark for my liking. And sometimes it doesn't look good. Sometimes you just have to keep looking for something. Like this also might look good as well. You just gotta keep playing around with colors and stuff. The more it's blended in, the better it'll look. But this is also, yet again, too dark for my liking. I like to have my colors kind of like this, a little bit light, not too dark. We could also try something more colorful here and see how this looks. Too bright. Oh, that kind of looks interesting. It's definitely giving Wonderland vibes, but also not what I'm looking for. What I like about apps like this is that they do give you a lot of things, especially when it comes to beginning artists, is they give you things like this, like foods and other accessories that can help you learn how to draw those objects, which is really nice. I've never really used those. I like to use these background things and fade it into my piece. And sometimes I don't. It's a now and then thing. Like what I used to do, I used to take this brick background and I would blend it in with my piece somehow. Let's see. I think I would do something like that and then I'd blend it in. And it just makes it look cool. And honestly, I might even keep this too because that looks cool. But the more it's blended in, the better it looks. But some things, I'd probably just like keep it like at 19%. And then what I like to do as well is I like to add, I'm gonna grab a different brush for this. I think this one. I like to add like a blue tint over my drawings. Makes it pop a lot more. So we'll see how this one looks. This might be a little bit too dark. We'll try 19. And it just makes it look like she's actually in the forest. It looks better like that. And then sometimes I like to use like a hot pink color. And I also do this with shading as well. Either I use like a hot pink, a purple, or a blue color for shading. We could also try purple for this as well. Just make sure everything is covered. And then sometimes I might take that shading and mess around with the filters on here as well. And I think we are almost done with this as well. I'm just messing around with shading. I'm gonna fix up a few things here as well. I'm kind of debating on making her eyes maybe a little glowy as well. We could try something like that. Let's see here. They have other filter options, such as the ones I'm looking at right now. If you ever want to use something like that, if you're ever using IBS Paint. That one made her look very evil. It's just a lot of messing around with the colors and stuff. I'm going to take a brown color, which I usually take a brown color when I am doing sketches. I used to do my sketches in black line work, but I feel like the brown just makes it look prettier. Now also depends on what colors you're choosing as well. I just personally think it looks better with brown. And that might be a tad bit too dark though. So I'm going to make this just a tad bit lighter. Yet again, just a tad bit too dark, but we're getting closer to the color I like. think maybe I will leave the eyelashes just maybe like that. Maybe just add just a tad bit. I don't want to make it too bold. But I'm also bringing out back some of her features. Only because it's kind of harder to see some of those now. See, like, that's a lot better. You can see her eyes a lot better. And I used to add highlights to my character's eyes, but I don't necessarily like to do that as much anymore. I think I don't know, I changed my style a little bit. I'm also going to outline some of this down here as well. Just going back and fixing up some of my mistakes or spots that I feel like it's just too light. And then I'm gonna try to see what a highlight would look like. Yeah, like that might be, I don't know. They used to look good with my style, but now it just doesn't really look right. I feel like that looks good. That definitely looks a lot better. I might add a few more other things, but I think this is pretty much it so far. And who knows, maybe I will add a little bit more, but for now, I think this is somewhat the final piece. So we're almost done. We're definitely almost done. But I am going to leave that off with the live today. Thank you for whoever watched, and make sure to like the live, and if you're also new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. Alright, I'll see you guys next live.